Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we're here to talk about the 2010 movie Inception. And as always, I have here Ramon
Hey guys.
and Raul.
Howdy, howdy.
The reason why we're doing this movie, it was suggested to us on Spotify by Oren, and we wanted to follow up on that request because it's a movie that we all love. We all love Christopher Nolan in this group. So, I can't wait to talk about it. In life, sometimes you're just walking by and a train will come out of nowhere and hit you. So, you gotta watch out for those trains that, randomly appear. So, Ro, tell us, what did you think about this movie, Mr. Business, All Business?
We're talking about Tenet, right? No,
Let me rewind.
So this is probably the first big impactful movie that I saw from Christopher Nolan that I was like, that's Christopher Nolan. Because obviously he did the Batmans but they were like Batman movies. They weren't really like Christopher Nolan movies. But this is like quintessential Christopher Nolan movie. It has amazing visuals and it has like a weird story with it, which is kind of like pretty typical for him. But yeah, I to this day like periodically still it comes up like the ending of it, like the what people think about whether like one thing happened or another. But it's kind of trippy. It's super interesting, the topic, but and obviously has a super loaded cast. It was the first time that I saw just Joseph Gordon-Levitt as not Third Rock from the Sun guy.
Oh, yeah.
So and so I don't know. I really like it. I really enjoy it.
I
give
saw
two
him in
thumbs up.
10 Things I Hate About You before before that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
he was kind of goofy in that one too.
It's always like a little
Yeah.
nerdy, a little just kind of nothing crazy, but I don't know. Well, thank you for not bringing up like that one scene at the end and start arguing about it, because we'll argue about that later.
Not yet.
I'll save you the argument and just tell you right off the bat, he's still sleeping.
Yes. Anyways,
You don't know that.
yes,
We'll talk
we
about
do.
it. I'll show you the facts.
If anything, this is gonna keep people listening, because I'm like, come on, everybody wants to know what people think. I'm like, he's so sick. No, I mean, this is one of those movies that it's so hard to forget, but it's so nice to like give it enough time to forget some details about it, and then go ahead and rewatch it. Because oh my goodness, like first of all, like to me, the most impressive part about the movie is the story, because it is mostly about Leonardo DiCaprio to me, obviously, right? Like that's what we're dealing with, like. It's just hides it between this like super like action packed, like super creative, like dreamscape, and this this is that whole idea of like Inception, extraction, like all that is such a beautiful concept. But then at the like top of everything is still Leonardo DiCaprio's like Cobb's struggle with him losing his wife, how he lost his wife, and then his kind of like fight between what's reality and not reality. And not saying that I kind of deal with the stuff like that, but it's just like it's a good thing that I think an idea of having a grand dreamscape, it just puts you into that world of what's real, what's not, your troubles, and kind of what you're looking for to like escape and not to. I don't know. This really complex movie, but I think it just hit some really nice notes throughout the movie. But yeah, his story in particular is what does it for me, man. I love knowing that at the end it's all about him. That's all I care about.
I wonder if he has like a rule, like I will only work with this actor in the lead once, and then I'll pass it on to, because I want to keep working with different actors. Because man, I wish he would have been working again with Leonardo, with Matthew McConaughey, with Hugh Jackman, and some of these actors. Like, not that they can not show up in one of his films later on, but I'm like, I truly want him to. Hugh Jackman was in oh my god, the Magician movie. Stop railroading, putting me.
Oh, he did that one.
The Prestige, yes, he did The Prestige.
I didn't know that he did that one. Sorry.
Yeah, and Scarlett Johansson's in that one too. But yeah, it's like I wish he would kind of like write another film and decide to bring some of these actors back, because I definitely think he did a great job with all of them. Like he definitely elevated their careers by just being in the Christopher Nolan movie.
Yeah, no, and this one, like Raul said, like some great people in there too, and everybody with their own like personality and stuff that they bring to like the job that they have to do as they're kind of diving into these streams. It was pretty good.
Yeah, but I will say, go ahead.
And too bad Cillian Murphy can't come back anymore either because
Well,
Oppenheimer.
I feel like he could because he's always been in his movies, sort of. But yeah, maybe after this one, he's like, oh, sorry, I can't work with you. I made you a lead, so gave you an Oscar. An Oscar. But no, I was gonna say, like, as I was watching this movie, man, like to me, this movie felt like it was 30% a heist movie, 30% an action film. And this is gonna sound crazy, but it's also 30% this movie. I feel like the formula to make this movie work is the freaking music, man. I think the whole
Oh
last
yeah.
hour and a half of it, the sound without the soundtrack, none of it works. So, like the soundtrack was freaking keeping me on my toes. Like, what's gonna happen? Like the music just elevated every scene, and it never like went away. Like, okay, this is it, and we won't hear music again for the next 20 minutes. It was like nonstop for like the last hour and a half. So I feel like the music itself was like a big part of this movie. And then I do want to say, like, I love seeing Ken Watanabe in this movie because I think he's just awesome. And I feel like he also escalates any movie that he's in. So I don't know, man, just love this freaking movie on my rewatch.
No, well, I mean that's a great way to start because that's how the movie starts with the loudest like music bang. Remember, like it's just like loud music, and I forgot that too because I have mine on pretty loud, and it just starts wave crash, and it's just like, oh man. But no, you're right. And like in that song, I know it's like an older like French song, but it's such a beautiful like the one that they use for the kick.
Yeah.
But it's just such a great way the way he plays with like speeds and all kinds of stuff like that for the music. I don't know, man. This movie.
Yeah, I mean we can start from
No,
the
yeah,
beginning.
and
Yep.
pretty much kind of how you said, like pretty much anyone. If you take a very good look at this movie, like the whole cast is like headliners because you have Leo, obviously the Academy Award winner Leo. You have Cillian Murphy, who we obviously love. You have Tom Hardy, who has led many movies.
That was
You
the first
have
time I ever saw
Joseph
Tom Hardy.
Gordon-Levitt.
By the way, that was my first time ever
Yeah.
seeing Tom Hardy in anything. Yeah.
I watched
and then
many
Fighter
British
and a
movies.
bunch of other movies. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, but Tom Hardy kind of stood out for this, and it was also weird kind of seeing him in like such a like formal and like uppity type of role, which
Not
is way
trying to
different
fight
from his other
people.
roles.
Yeah, in all of his English movies, like he's always like trying to fight someone. Like he's like a hooligan of types.
Yeah.
Like
Because I think he got cast as
And
Bane
then you
after
have
this movie, right?
Ellen Page at the time. Now Elliot.
yeah.
Was this movie before or after The Dark Knight Rises? Is that the last one, the third one? I just want to see when
After. Oh wait.
after. I don't remember, but I feel like he did get cast.
I think so.
After the, because then I feel like, even though in Inception he does a good job, like I really didn't pay attention to Tom Hardy and my first time. This time I really enjoyed him. But I think once he got cast as Bane, that's when I was like, oh, who is this Tom Hardy character? And that's when I really like his name really started like popping out to me.
Yeah.
Well,
What?
he pretty much had like a pretty good streak though with this, with Fighter, with the Dark Knight, and then he had that twin one that I never saw.
I never saw that one.
And then there was like one or two other ones that kind of came out like within the like 2-3 year period with him in
I mean, nowadays
awesome.
it feels like
if
you can say like I've been in a Christopher Nolan movie, like that gets you something, man. That gets you like places just because the movies have all done great. I mean, he's the one director that people will write a blank check to, just like, all right, tell me your story. Okay, yeah, done. Here you go. Here's the paycheck. Even though I sometimes don't like how he plays with time, I'm kind of glad in this movie we didn't have to deal with any of that.
Well, we did have to deal with it in this movie because the whole beginning was kind of like that,
that
right?
was
He
like
wakes
such a
up
little
at
part
the
of
shores.
it.
But that was exactly it, though. He wakes up at the shores, right, in front of that like Japanese castle, like mansion, where he ends up like meeting up with like old man Saito. And I remember watching the movie for the first time, but I had no clue what was going on. And then just kind of knowing that it goes from that moment to like real life, and I'm like, wait, what? Like, what the hell just happened? And it's kind of like it is back in time because that is where we kind of leave off at the end of the movie. Yeah. But here we are starting the movie with that point. So. Fucking Christopher Nolan.
I was nervous that wouldn't pay off because I was like I didn't remember the intro, and obviously that's how it starts. And I'm like, is that even gonna get explained? Yeah. So I was nervous that we were never gonna find out like why he woke up in the beach and why he was old at that point.
Yeah,
I did remember. because I'm awesome. But I'm kidding.
Sure.
No, but
Yeah, you
it's
are.
really
Yeah, you
interesting.
are.
But yeah, like yeah, in this movie, obviously there is a lot of time play too, because the further you are in the dream, the longer time kind of expands out. But like I do like one thing that I did forget about before watching it is the fact that he was pretty much in limbo for so long. And like once he mentioned it, I was like, oh yeah. And then it was just like, it that kind of reminds me of Umbrella Academy too, because if you've seen that, I think 3 kind of did the same thing, that he went into the future with nothing else, so he lived the whole life
So,
in the future.
So just to be clear for you guys listening, like Raul's talking about like the fact that he spent 50 years with Mal, like his wife, like down in limbo, which is crazy too, because remembering that as well. And I love the one scene like later on when they show him as old people, because in an idea like this is Raul, this is where you got to watch Rick and Morty, man. Watch Rick and Morty. Like there's literally
I
so
saw
many.
a season.
You gotta keep watching more. But
But
anyways,
did
this
you,
is
did you see the Inception episode where they just keep going into dreams within a dream? Within a dream?
it just it
Oh
gets
no, I
great.
did.
Okay.
Well, there's more. Believe me.
With Freddy Krueger, right?
Yes, that's the one. Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's
Yeah.
the one with the arcade, like the video game where they play as that normal guy. I forget right now, and they live a whole life within the video game, but then outside of the video game, it's literally been like minutes. So, anyways, I mean that was a beautiful idea, because I also forgot that too. And then upon thinking of that too, I'm like, man, holy crap! So then you are an old soul. Like here you are trying to reclaim your life, and obviously kind of jumping a little bit to that whole idea with him and his wife. Like,
Yeah.
I think once you get to those parts and you start discovering exactly what he's been through, how long he's been in limbo, and just the whole, as you see limbo more and more and more, like that's what I'm saying. Like that movie ultimately becomes about that conflict that he's dealing with, but it's just so crazy. But just yeah.
No, that's why I don't feel bad that he was still dreaming at the end, because I'm like, he's already like lived 60, whatever, 50 years of his life. Sucks for the kids because obviously they lost a mom and a dad, but I think they're going to be okay. The grandparents seem like they're loaded with money.
Yeah. What do you guys? Okay, so I know it's pretty hard to keep in the beginning, but it's like, what do you guys remember? If you can remember from your initial reaction of the movie, like the second that you find out that it is dream within a dream, like that whole concept. Because in the beginning, where they're just solely talking about extraction, right?
Yeah.
Saito's like basically testing them to see if they're able to like extract this information without them finding out. Which at that moment, it was pretty nice to see that like Saito, when he falls to that one rug, like he falls on top of that carpet, and he's just by telling like what type of carpet it is or what type of rug, like that kind of destroys the reality or the dreamscape. That to me, it was all still like crazy, because again, this is a movie about dreams, and in reality, like how often do you have a dream that you kind of find pretty close, and then all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, I don't have a fucking third floor in my house, like what the hell? Or I don't have someone locked up down here.
That never happens during the dream. It just afterwards, I was like, but then it fades so quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no way that I would be able to tell if somebody was inside of me, like, trying to toy with me or trying to find out my secrets. Because it's just like, I don't have these detailed dreams like that, man. In this movie, sometimes it feels like it's way too smart for me. And that's why I don't want to, like, start bringing out. If there are any plot points, like, I don't even want to, like, bring them up. Because I'm like, this movie is just so freaking smart, and he does such a great job with it.
Dude, in the beginning, the first time that I saw it, I thought that they were just, like, in a war zone. Like, in a place with, like, civil unrest. Or whatever, and then people were like rioting or preparing to riot. So that was like my initial assumption. I was like, oh, I didn't get why they were there though, and I was like, okay, but I just accepted it or whatever. But then like after they explained it, then it totally makes sense that it's the projections that are fighting back.
Oh, surprise! Inception is a zombie movie. Like you just missed it.
I do think you're asking
28 days later is that.
Yeah, they followed Cillian all the way to the freaking Inception movie.
I do think you're asking too much by like getting the fabric of a carpet just right, man. I feel like at a certain point it's like, all right, now you're kind of like, if you hired me to be the architect of this world, like there's no way, unless you're telling him like, hey, your part's only going to be in this room and you have to get every single detail of this room perfectly, which sounded like that was the case, and he did mess up, and then he snitched, man. That guy became a snitch.
Well, I mean, and then to your point about that, like that's something that I really appreciated about the movie is once they finally like kind of Saito says, okay, cool, I'm hiring you guys. This is the plan. Like we're trying to get, this like empire of like a father and son corporation thing, like, oh, whatever. Right. Um, Once they start kind of planning for their dream scenario, like I really love to seeing the efforts of everything that does go into them planning out these dreamscapes. Skipping a lot of details of the movie, but just in general, like I really appreciated that part of the movie because it did teach you that it wasn't just simple as like, oh, let me like imagine something and all of a sudden we're in your dream, we're in your house. Like, well, it kind of sucks if you've never been to like Carlos's house and you're trying to have a dream for him inside his house. Like, yeah, I think those elements are really important. But yeah, it was crazy that it was like the rug that kind of like found him out. But I think if anything, it just kind of adds more like seriousness, like more what's the word I'm spacing out. But yeah, it was just,
it raises the stakes.
it raises the stakes because they have to be that freaking precise about everything, which then, the whole inclusion of like Ariadne, Elliot Page's like character as her being like the architect, like it was like so crazy because she has to create all these like actual physical spaces, but then also like not do anything that people would have remembered or kind of recognized. And I don't know, just the whole idea of what goes into it is very intricate, but just
And the
makes you
training.
think. And the training, yeah.
You know what I thought was funny this time when I was rewatching it? That it was raining because the guy said you went into his dream. He had to go to the bathroom at the time.
He had
So
to
then
pee.
that
Yeah.
caused the world to like rain. And I'm like, that's kind of like, that's pretty funny. Like if you think about it, like I wonder what other things you could potentially, if we're going to sleep, like if you're mad or angry or sad, I wonder how that does affect when you go into the dream stage. You know?
I'm sure it does. No, yeah, well, yeah, because the reason for that was because they went into his dream. So
Yeah.
so whoever's like hosting it is the one that kind of affects the dreamland or whatever, the dreamscape, and then
Which I
the
think was the guy,
architect
the
is the one that
chemist.
modifies it.
Yeah, I think it was
Huh?
the chemist at that point. The chemist, I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
that was
yeah,
his,
yeah, yeah. Which is why he was driving the van because he had to stay there, and then like eventually they went into Joseph Gordon-Levitt's dream, and all that other stuff too.
Yeah.
So, but but yeah, it was definitely interesting. I kind of also like when they were like gathering all the people, because that's kind of when it felt like a heist movie, because they found the architect, they found the forger, the Joseph Gordon-Levitt was like the research slash recon guy. You had the money guy with Saito, which apparently also had information, and then you kind of had them all planning like, all right, the this is how we're gonna do it, and first level, second level, third level, and all that stuff. So I don't know. I really enjoyed that part, especially
I was
because like the whole plan went to shit.
I was smiling because I'm like, you
Yes.
just mentioned another like Rick and Morty episode where the heist, and I'm like, oh my god, like
Oh my
freaking Rick and Morty took everything from this movie and
gonna
made an
be-
episode about it.
This episode's gonna be Inception / Rick and Morty stole it. Like,
Right.
no, but it's like, I do like that you guys mentioned like the whole feels more like a heist movie. I like that better. Raul, I know you're a fan of New Rock Stars, and I know he had a video a couple years back where he kind of described Inception a lot like a movie. Like he was just talking about how like Christopher Nolan, this was his movie to talk about movie making, right? Like all the creativeness that goes behind making a movie. And then he was breaking down everybody like Leonardo DiCaprio being the director, like Joseph Gordon-Levitt being like the producer. You had Tom Hardy being the actor. You had so anyways, he had divided every single character into a role that would go into making movies. But I remember watching that forever ago, and I felt like it just took away from my like love of the movie, because I'm like, no, like it's about like a heist, like a dream heist, right? That at the end of the day, it's like more about the dreamscapes and kind of manipulating like this idea. And yeah, of course you can make that correlation about it's like making a movie, but I think in the tradition of talking about movies, it is like a heist movie, and I love that about it, because then it's multi-level heists. Like
Dude,
each stream, you have to do your own heist. It's
It's
It
like
is
an
funny
Ocean's
because
movie.
Yeah.
and it's funny because most of these guys are like they're all the bad guys. Like Sato's a bad guy, Leonardo DiCaprio's a bad guy, but the real bad guy in this movie is freaking Mel, his wife. I'm like, oh, his dead wife that won't leave him alone. I'm like, that's the true evil
Which is
of this
really
movie.
him projecting
It's really him.
onto her. So it's Leo again.
I was just so
But,
annoyed every time she
again-
showed up, or she would mess with something, or it was his fault, and it's just so. Oh man.
But that's and you don't want to think of it as a flaw, but that is like the one part of the movie that annoys you because here you are, you're watching a heist movie, right? And you have these like
His
very
wife.
intricate plans and all these things, and all of a sudden you just have this wife in the background, like, I'm watching you. It's like, what
Yeah.
are you up to? You're gonna go out with the boys? I got you. What the fuck? Fuck
That,
with you.
that's what it feels like. Like, oh, you're gaming? Okay, how long is this gonna last? Like, I'm watching,
yeah.
I'm just standing
Wait, are you
behind
playing
the.
with the girl? Who's this girl? Like, hold on, let me give me a second. Let me just interject real quick. And this is not happening. Let me drive the train that killed both of you and I right through the fucking scene.
No, but here's kind of how what I first thought that it was going to be with her is because like in the beginning, especially because he's in Japan, and he's trying to like extract this information, and then she kind of shows up, and then it's kind of like a spy thriller, um,
Yeah,
because
very
you
James
think
Bond.
that like
Yeah.
oh yeah, she's this other spy or whatever that's there and probably kind of competing kind of like a James Bond type thing where they're like opposing spies trying to get information from somewhere or whatever it is, and then she kind of like it ends up like ruining his plan or whatever, and you just think it's like another random person because you're not really sure like what everything is, but then you kind of realize eventually that she's just a projection that he brings with him to dreams because it's in his deep dark inside.
Christopher
Yeah.
Nolan wants to direct a James Bond movie, and they should give him one, man. Like, they should, because he wants to. He has said in interviews, like, I want to direct a James Bond movie. And I could just imagine, like,
Tom
how
Hardy, James
cool.
Bond.
Yeah.
I don't know,
Yeah.
somebody, man. I don't care who, but I just know that the action is going to be really good and the storytelling is going to be really good. But one of the things that I kind of wanted to start off, I wanted to provide you guys with Exhibit A of how I can tell you that he's dreaming at the end of the movie. In the beginning of the movie, he's talking to his kids on the phone, and those kids, man, because we see them
We're
throughout the
older.
whole movie, they're sprinkled. Yeah, in the phone, they sound way older. Everything that we see throughout the whole movie, it's like them being like,
She sounds older than him though.
than the boy? I think the girl
Yeah.
was meant to be the oldest, so
Yeah. The girl was
Yeah.
the older one.
the girl was the older one,
Okay.
and then the boy was the little one. And when they're talking on the phone, like, that sounds like a, maybe teen or teenish, kind of like
Yeah.
maybe 10, 11 girl talking back to him. And I'm like,
Yeah,
this whole
teen or
movie, you
tween.
just see like a
Yeah.
6-year-old, 5-year-old girl. So it's like, yeah, that's my Exhibit A for why he's still
So
dreaming.
we
at
just
the end.
couldn't wait. We're just gonna go towards the end of the movie. 'Cause
No, because I mean, we're
I mean,
talking about the movie, so I don't
I
want
also
to.
felt like, huh?
But I'm providing facts.
No, I
as in
mean,
the beginning of the movie.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'll provide
No,
more
go ahead.
facts as we keep talking about the movie.
No, I'm saying because I want to start talking about that argument, but I'm gonna wait a little bit because
Yeah, let's wait till then. I mean, yeah.
We can argue throughout if you want.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, it's
We'll
like
just
we're
keep
talking
saying
about the
how it
beginning
is
of the
to dream.
movie, and he has this conversation with them about like, hey, you're in reality, you're not coming back. So I just want to say, like, that was my first Exhibit A of why I feel like he is dreaming of that.
Well, here, more build up towards that. It's like again, finding out more about his story was really good, right? Like seeing those flashbacks, because in the beginning you don't understand, like you don't know that he kind of caused his wife to like kill herself, right? You don't know that he can't see his kids because they blamed him for the murder of his wife. And so it's like I like that mystery because as annoying as she is in these dreams, like she kind of keeps intervening. I'm also like, okay, why, dude? Why are you so hung up on your wife? Obviously, something's had to happen to her. And I think discovering that part of the story, I think once you discover that part of the story, then you almost kind of forget about the overall point of the movie, like what they're trying to do in the movie. Because I totally forgot about Cillian's like character and his dad, because I'm like, wait, what? You're telling me that Leonardo
Ramon,
totally caused his wife to like,
Yeah.
what?
I'm just confused because you're talking about the last end of the movie, and I'm still in the beginning, so I don't know what you're talking about.
No,
I'm talking about him
It's kind of
discovering
throughout the whole movie, though.
throughout the whole movie.
Yeah.
Throughout the
No.
whole movie. Because, I mean, yeah, like, you find out that he can't see his kids, right? And there's,
Yeah.
like, always the images of him seeing his kids playing, but he never sees the face. And I know it's, like, a little later when you find out, but it's still one of those things that, like, the movie kind of really pushes you to be invested into, like, why the heck he can't see his kids' faces. And also why she won't, like, Mal won't leave him alone. And I don't know. I
and
love
he
that part of it.
refuses to see them too. Like he doesn't want to see their face. Dude, you know what I thought was kind of funny when his wife mentions like, maybe you're the one that's still dreaming because you're living in this reality where agents are chasing you and you're constantly running away. And I don't believe it for a second. Like the movie was just based on a dream from the beginning. Like I don't think at all. But it's funny because the way she says it, it's like, oh, it kind of does make you as the audience. It does make you think like, oh man, maybe he has just always been dreaming since the beginning of the movie.
No, yeah, I mean, that was a good part of it. I like how they threw in the whole idea of the totem, because that's clearly another thing that fucks with you at the end of the movie as well.
Yeah.
But like, I like the idea that the totem is something specific to you that you only like. You knows like the weight, like the shape or the trick to it. Because I love like Joseph Gordon-Levitt's like
Yeah.
loaded die because it was like loaded, and so it was just kind of like you
What
would
is
have
it-
not known that.
What is a chess piece? How does a chess piece like,
Well, she inscribed something at the bottom of it. So, like at that point,
Oh.
like there was something that she put on there that she knew probably it was only hers because of whatever was written on the bottom. Plus, it looked like it was made out of brass or some kind of metal, and it's like not all chess pieces are like metal, not more often. So, that was a kind of cool one.
So, what would be your totem?
For me,
You-
my wedding ring.
But how would you know from it that
Because there's two things to my wedding ring that from initially like looking at it, you can't tell what's part of it.
I feel like that doesn't make any sense. Like, you know, putting like you're saying, like her chess piece was just like a chess piece inscribed, maybe it weights a little bit different. But I'm like, how does that really tell you you're not dreaming? With the other two guys, like it makes sense because if you have a loaded dice, it's only gonna be a 6. I can keep rolling it and it's always gonna be a 6, and the moment it's a 5, then I know I'm dreaming. With Leonardo,
Yeah.
same thing. It's like if the moment it stops spinning, but like that's why I might not have an answer for you, Ro, because I don't know. It has to be something that there's a trick to it. It would have to be like I can bust out a Smash, like I can bust out a Super Nintendo and beat Mario without dying the whole game. Like I don't know. Like I don't know what I would choose.
Well, to elaborate
Game
more,
Boy,
like
maybe, yeah.
I mean that makes sense, but like to elaborate more, like with my ring, there's something on the inside of it that no one knows basically what's in it, and so it's like unless like you know my secret, you will know why I'm the only one that can tell this is my ring. Maybe my wife, and it's funny that she might not even know. But it's just like it's a funny thing, and you know what? Bring me to a good point. Leonardo DiCaprio, like Cobb, like in this movie, like he does play with his ring a lot, right? There's only like a couple scenes when you see him with the ring, and that's in his dreams. Like when he's thinking, like he's in the dreams, he's wearing the ring, but in real life, he's not wearing the ring. And so I don't know if that was like, you know how he took the totem from his wife? Yeah, see? Yeah. And I'm not stealing it from him because there is something cool to my ring, but that's a whole different thing. So I don't know. I mean, like just the fact that he stole his wife's like totem, like the top, kind of makes me wonder what his totem was. And if it was his wedding ring, or maybe he had something else, but then he's like, oh no, go kill yourself because I really want your totem.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna think about it, and maybe on another episode I'll have a more clearer answer.
Because like I don't know what mine would be. Like maybe a chapstick.
Okay,
but like it would just be like a particular chapstick.
Yeah,
you have like a bite on the side of it that you got hungry, and you're like,
or I don't know, like one that like just doesn't work. That way you can like just spin it, but then like it doesn't go like out or in or something. I don't know.
Obviously, not like Christopher Nolan.
It'd be something like that because like I always carried the chapstick forever, but then it ran out.
Yeah,
hence it stopped working.
But it's cool that they showed us just a couple totems. Like they didn't show us Tom Hardy's totem, right? Or like Saito's totem, or Yusuf's. No. Like
I don't even know if everybody has a totem because they also said that what's her name, Mao. That she came up with the idea of a totem, which makes sense.
Oh, that's cool.
Because of like the whole dreaming stuff. But so it might not be like a universal thing. It might just be like the group.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. I like it.
Dare you ask me a good question, Rose? It got me like now all distracted. I was thinking about what I could make as a totem.
Well, yeah. I think we're always just put into another idea of just like the whole idea that this is an exclusive group that is like knows their own tricks and they have new tricks, but like in this world, in this reality, who else is doing this? What else? Like, did they explain what the dream besides the
military?
When we were in that, yeah, like besides but did they explain that besides like that one group of guys in that one place, like going into that dream to kind of escape their reality and just kind of like be together in this dream? Where else did they talk about this whole technology? Because I was just really impressed by the whole idea that in this sense, like he kind of grounded it by being like, oh, this is scientific. This is something that other people know how to use and what to do with it. And I don't know, I just thought it was pretty cool that if that's even a possibility.
If you keep in mind, Michael Caine like taught a class.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, and he's the one that taught Cobb how to be an architect.
I feel like I feel like maybe it started as like a medical device, and then obviously it got militarized, and then people do bad things with it. But it almost feels like a Black
as therapy or something.
Yeah, like it feels like a Black Mirror episode, like the one where it's just like the people that can't move, they're completely paralyzed. They go into this, I forget what it was, like box or this reality where they can walk around, live, laugh, love, and maybe it could be that like, hey, people aren't able to move, we put them in this machine, and maybe 8 hours a day, they can spend, some of their last remaining days just like, walking and doing what normal people can do. But yeah, they don't never really go into detail about it, but it looks cool. It looks very portable. Like you can do it anywhere.
So is Inception the prequel to Total Recall?
I was thinking Total Recall vibes also as I was watching this.
Right? Like I kind of like that. Just because like, I mean, you do have other movies and other things that have obviously dealt with this concept, but I think just for this movie it works so well because they don't make it a mystery. Like you clearly see it throughout the movie that other people are familiar with this, right? Like even Saito was trained, like Cillian's character was trained to like combat like people trying to extract information in their dreams. And so it's like it has to be a well-known like technology that it is like, whether it's exclusive to like people with money and higher ups, but it's like in reality, like you saw those people in that one Arabic city like doing it just to kind of be fulfilled. I'm wondering what the rest of the world is using it for, right? If it's that accessible in the United States, we have like the dope heads. What are they doing it with it? Which then again reminds me of like Total Recall. So just crazy.
No, and this, as I was watching, sorry, so we're this movie just reminds you of so many things, and I don't know if it's because it's such a great movie that we just want to feel like everything's related to it. But even like Succession,
it inspired a lot of things too.
Yeah, even Succession as I was watching this, bro, like it reminded me of Succession. This whole idea that like I'm not good enough for my dad, like I want to run his business, but he doesn't think I can run it, or I'm gonna bring it to the ground. And even though he's gonna break his company, down, like he's still at the end of the day gonna be probably a billionaire or millionaire. So it's like we don't ever really gotta worry about him because he might actually go on to do something even greater because of this idea. So it's kind of funny.
Well, I mean, thank you for pointing out what their plan was. Is the whole idea of like Cillian Murphy, his dad is dying, he has this big fortune and company, but essentially he thinks that he needs to be running the company the same way that the dad did. To me, again, not understanding, like we'll kind of see it more like a heist movie, knowing that that's the ultimate goal for them is to kind of break his mind up and destroy it because Saito wants them to not be the superpower, right? Yeah. But then again, just reminding you that the movie is kind of still more about like Cobb. I think it's kind of fluctuates that because it gives you a really good action, like packed movie with tons of things that you're kind of building towards. But then like, again, the fight is like really internal because Cobb must be so amazing at his job that he's the only one that can do this. But at the same time, dude, he's so fucked up with the whole Mal, like just being there, like lit up, like literally malware, like in there infecting him like every step of the way.
Malware.
But it's just crazy to know that it's like, especially like in this movie, like Elliot Page or Ellen back then, it's like as she's finding this stuff out, she's like the one that's concerned about this because to me it was the same thing too. Like, how would you not be worried? Why are you not telling your crew that this is like what you're risking? Because
he was Gordon-Levitt that knows about her.
He knows about it. Like he continues to follow him, even though he keeps kind of encountering these things happening. So I don't know. I feel like with him, I don't know. Maybe it's just like he is that good at his job, and I mean, we don't know, like you said, Ramon, we don't know much about the world, so we don't know who else is doing this. And, Leonardo definitely markets himself as being the best. So, yeah, it's just like, what do? You either go find yourself a crappy person that can do this, or you stick with Leo, and he's the best at it. And, every once in a while, his wife is going to show up and ruin the plan and shoot you in the leg.
And shoot you until you get come out of the dream. No, but like it definitely seems like in this world, it requires a particular set of skills. But
all right,
but
Liam.
but then like once they actually like come up with a plan, I also kind of like the whole maze thing about it when
Oh
they're
yeah.
trying to like train Elliot Page's character.
It needed more
Like
mazes for sure.
yeah, like on how to do like mazes and all that stuff, and I thought it was really cool that the concept of creating kind of the maze with some blank spots and allowing the other person to like fill it in with their stuff. And then also if you create a maze and you don't tell like anybody else, then like anything else that they bring with them, it kind of makes it harder for them. And then also like the person that's supposed to be in the dream, to for their projections to really do anything about the fact that they're there.
You know, you're right. We don't get Doctor Strange without this movie, bro. Because even when I saw the Doctor Strange trailer, and I'm like, dude, this is like Inception because the whole like architecture, the part
Yeah.
where like the
Yeah,
worlds
the
are
first
sort of
one,
like
yeah.
meeting each other and stuff like that. And so that
Mhm.
part, I mean, they don't do enough of that, but that's like super cool. This idea of you just can just imagine things and they come up and the world moves. And I feel
Mhm.
like Marvel, as they were coming up with Doctor Strange, they were like, Christopher Nolan made this in a cave. Like, you guys need to like repeat what he did. And I don't know, man. Like, I really do love Doctor Strange, the first one, just because of that reason. Like, I think
Yeah.
the whole visuals of like moving the world and stuff like that. And again, I don't think you get that level of quality without Christopher Nolan inspiring, people. And I think that's what he does, man. He inspires filmmakers. So I love that,
And,
man.
and you're right that it feels like in the movie we don't get enough of it, because that is such a beautiful scene when they're in Paris and she's first starting to go into the dreamscape and she kind of starts to bend like the art, the landscape and all that stuff.
Mhm.
But then even like the scene where like everything kind of like blows up out of the streets and then you just have all the people like normally just there and then just freaking debris flying, like really slowly flying. Like everything just visually was like amazing. I think that's the reason why I rushed to buy it as soon as I could, because I remember like at that time being like, I'm gonna watch this movie like every year. Like I have to watch this over again. Like this idea of you having that type of power, being in a dream world. Oh, there you go, Raul. Being in the dream world, and then especially being like the creative, being the person that can create those things. Like I love her character being like, oh my god, the possibilities. Like and she was hooked. Remember, she walked away in the very beginning and then she came back. She's like, what? Like, how would I walk away from like infinite possibilities? Like, it's so amazing. Like, I felt so free to be in there and do whatever I want. But then just imagine like if you had like true fight scenes where you can kind of like manipulate like the freaking architecture to like fight each other, that would be even cooler. But that's a whole different
No,
Inception.
I mean, we'll talk about the later on in the scene where like the room is moving, but man, dude, that's like
Oh,
that itself pays for whatever I paid for at the time for my movie ticket. Like truly incredible. I wanted to quickly
Another
ask you guys.
question.
Wait, did you guys know that
Okay.
Christopher Nolan has a brother that was convicted and put in jail, and then he tried to escape from jail? If you don't know those details, man, look it up, because this idea of like he's able to do all these great movies with like really good storytelling, really good like plots and stuff like that. And when you look up the fact that he has this brother who went to jail, orchestrated his escape from jail, and I think he didn't happen. It's really interesting. So anybody listening to that doesn't know that, I would ask you to go look it up, because I think you kind of wonder a little bit more about the man himself.
you know,
I want to
Ro,
know about it.
I want to know. This is something like Prison Break. Like, which brother has the tattoo on the back? Like, here, this is how we're gonna get out. Like, let's go.
Yeah.
Oh,
No,
I did
yeah.
not know
So,
that. Like, I
yeah, he was arrested. I'm looking it up, like just to like give you guys some of the facts. But yeah, he was arrested on February 2009 for murder charges. So
okay.
it's just kind of so it's kind of a little bit crazy when you think about that.
Wow.
Damn.
Yeah.
All right. So now my question. So if you were in trying to do an Inception thingy, what role would you get in, or what role would you have in the crew?
Architect.
No, not
I
the
kinda figured.
architect.
Actually,
I would probably
I don't
be
know.
the actor guy, not because of the acting part, but I did like
The
the fact that
forger?
like I did like the fact that he would get a job in the business and then all of a sudden like just spy. He was actually doing a lot of the spying and getting all the facts and stuff. So I would do that, the Tom Hardy character.
What about you, Raul?
I don't know. I feel like I'd be the muscle.
Was there muscle in this movie?
Not really.
Kind of, but not really.
Okay.
Either
No,
that or the research guy.
You know what?
Like
No,
Joseph
my fucked up
Gordon-Levitt.
mind. I'd be Cobb, man. I'd be the one bringing in the mess into it. There'll be like freaking killer clowns and
Oh my
gremlins all
God.
over the place, and you're like, "What's wrong with this world?" And it's like, "Ah, we're in Ramon's dream again, motherfucker."
All the
Like,
drama.
all the drama. Yeah, no, that makes more sense actually.
You might be the chemist too, Ramon.
I
Oh, yeah.
mean, you know who I wouldn't want to be. I wouldn't want to be Joseph Levin, Gordon-Levitt,
Joseph
because
Gordon-Levitt.
his seemed like the most like anxious, like the most crucial job. Especially, yes, you're right, Carlos, in the hotel like scene. What that man did to get those people out of that freaking
Dude, yes,
situation.
yes.
Like, I'm just thinking about it when they were breaking down the whole time sequence, right? They were saying that, like, at this point, he had 3 minutes. And then in the Arctic world, like, when they're, like, kind of in the Siberian,
An
like,
hour. Yeah.
dreamscape, an hour, right? But I'm like, in 3 minutes, there's no way that you, like, in your mind thought to, like, freaking wrap them all up together. And, well, yeah. Anyway, when we get there, it's crazy.
But see, I think
Crazy.
that 3 minutes was for the initial kick. They missed that. And then I think they had additional more time after that, which they didn't say how much after that. But yeah, they missed the.
Well, it was
first
seconds in the van time.
Oh,
yeah. But same
Sorry,
like
I was
you,
gonna
Ramon,
say,
it must
this
have been a
idea of
few
like coming up
minutes
with this
in
plan
the-
of like wrapping them up, tying them, putting them in the elevator. I'm like, who comes up with that on the spot?
he just had
Joseph
the most pressure,
Gordon-Levitt.
man. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
He
makes
created
sense.
like a rocket. That's essentially what he did, right? He like put bombs on it and exploded it forward.
Well, it's even just the fact that you're like freaking tying everyone up together. Because just the idea of that, like in panic, you would be like, "What? All right, let me grab everybody by the sleeves and then be dragging everybody across the like hotel or like hallway." Like, I don't know.
Yeah. My idea would have been dumb. I would have blown up the room next to them and hoped that the blast would push everybody and wake them up.
I mean, just like smacked them really hard. Like he said, the only thing that wasn't affected was like their ear, like their
Yeah, which means they're balanced. So like, but they tried it. They were smacking people and they weren't waking up.
Yeah, no, that's even in the van, right? Like in the van, there's definitely tons of it. And then the crazy part is they were in a plane the whole time too. There was even the scene where like Saito asked, like, "Oh, step in the turbulence," and it's like, "Oh no, that's probably at the van level." Like, first of all, yeah, the fact that they were like going that deep, because that was end up like what 3 levels, and then ultimately it was what 4 or 5 levels by the time we got to
So the van was 1 level, and then the hotel was two levels,
and then the ice
was the hotel the same level as the van?
No,
you were doing good, man.
And the hotel, you were doing good. The hotel,
the hotel was the hotel was 2nd level. The Arctic was 3rd level, and then the one city where Mount Cobb was the 4th level. But then he like stayed there longer somehow. I think he ended up in limbo somehow from there, and then which is how he found Saito again.
Yeah. Well, Saito was already in limbo because of the gunshot, so that was another crazy thing. Yeah.
Saito, like they make him seem like he has so much money, so much potential, so much influence, and I don't really think we explore the character enough. Because I'm like, I don't believe. Had they made it to the U.S., he would have just been able to make a clue number, exhibit number C. I don't think he would have been able to just make a call and make everything like, all right, you can come in, everything's good, no murder charges.
You no longer have murder charges.
He bought a whole freaking airline. Like that was funny. Like I forgot how funny that was at the moment when they're like, man, like so his like it's a private jet. So what are we gonna do about it? It's like, oh, I guess we gotta like buy out the jet or like replace it. And then it's like, well, I just bought the whole airline. It's like, what?
Well, they gotta buy out the seats and then buy out the first class stewardess.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, and then they said the plane. I was like, well, I just bought the airline.
Yeah.
Like,
okay. If I was sitting like that first class, the way they were all seated, like I would not be able to resist the urge of like talking to one of them or two of them and just being like, who are you? What do you do? How do you afford like me? Like if I'm rich and I'm like sitting here, like it's almost like a place where you would network. I would assume. Like I assume anybody in first class that's sitting like that is just networking with each other at that point.
Maybe that's us being lowlifes and we don't know what first class is like. But I'm assuming they wouldn't want to. I assume they wouldn't want to be talked to. It's like, who are you? Like your seat is like behind me.
Well, the way Leonardo talks to him is like, "Oh, I recognize you. Aren't you so and so?" It's just like, I don't know, man. I don't know if in the real world people can just recognize each other from how much money they have.
Yeah. But, I mean,
Aren't you from the Ayalas? The oil Ayalas or
Right.
Oh
the
yes,
the
yeah, no.
media Ayalas?
Yeah, same person. No, but
That's true.
that's another good point about why it was a dream at the very end, because you think Cillian, after waking up, after dreaming them, dream after dream, will like even glance at them a little longer, other than just like a okay, like just a nod, like that was something that never escaped my mind at that last scene at the end. That Cillian didn't really recognize anybody. He was just kind of like nodded at him, and that's it.
I think
And
they're
that was it.
making it to be one of those things where like, oh yeah, I saw your faces before before I
Oh,
said in my, so it's like
that makes
by
sense.
just you being next to me, I put you in my dreams. I think that's the way they're trying to make you feel. Like you're the one that put him in the dream, like, which is still kind of weird.
Oh, well, I bet I'm gonna dream of you guys tonight. Wink, wink. Okay.
I feel like that happened recently
Whoa.
in something. I can't remember what. Like I was watching something and it's like, yeah, the people. Oh, it
The
was
Wizard of
freaking
Oz.
Sunny in Philadelphia.
The Wizard of
No,
Oz.
no, no.
It's true.
It's always sunny in Philadelphia, Ramon. When he goes to the doctor and he's like, "You got to bring your cholesterol, or whatever, down," and he like does it himself by dreaming this fake reality. Oh my god, that episode.
That's a good one too. But then Raul has a good point. That's an old ass movie, and that is how that movie ends. Where like totally wakes up and it's just like everybody around her is like all
Yeah.
her family
And you
people
were
and people she
there.
knows.
And you
But
were
yeah,
there. And you were there.
see, that would have been me regardless. I would have been like, oh yeah, you were in my dream, dude. Got you.
um,
But I mean, I don't know. I think that whole sequence with like, I mean, the whole plan, but then once it starts, like the whole idea of the van, like when the van starts like driving into like the water or like going off the bridge, I don't know why I was so obsessed with that scene. I think it's just that whole idea of like perpetual motion and being stuck in that space time idea, and then while this is kind of very slowly moving, you have like this kind of extended time in the next streamscape, and then below that like the more extended time. Like it's just like those really intellectual like parts about the movie is what makes it so good. Like it's really actiony without being just actiony. It's like really smart.
you,
And I don't know, I think that just always wins for me, man. Those concepts are like great.
you guys can blame me for this because it's absolutely my fault and I'm responsible for this. But I miss when movies would provide you with the making of the movie, or that would be part of the movie
Hmm.
that you would buy, even though I don't think I've ever watched one in my life. And so
I
that's why I
have.
say I'm responsible for that because even though I'm sure I can look up something about the making of this movie, again, I would have loved if today that was included in you're paying $35-$40 at times for some of these Blu-rays, 4Ks. So it's like, why not include that, man? Why not include some behind the scenes stuff? Like, I just hate the fact that back in the day there was even like codes you could put in the DVD, and secret stuff would come out of it. So that was really cool, man. I feel like that whole thing needs to make a comeback.
That
Dude,
is something that we'll miss.
one of my favorite like
Deleted were my
special
favorite things,
features.
man. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, one of my favorite special features is for 13 Ghosts. They have like an awesome
Ooh.
special features for that one.
Okay.
Yeah,
But yeah, no,
that
but yeah, like I have seen like some of the making of this movie because like for that scene it was done practically. Like
Yeah,
they had a
yeah.
room or like a
They both
hallway
did.
that they spun, and then they choreographed obviously the that fight scene. But honestly, I think that's like one of the coolest fight scenes out there. It's so like it's so iconic to this. It's kind of like the old boy fight scene, like this fight scene, and a couple of like other random other movies that is like this
John
is
Wick
from
every
Yeah.
other
here.
movie. Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I think one of the reasons why it makes it so good is just the idea that he's fighting like nobody. It's like, normally when you got like a really great
Mhm.
fight scene that you can think about, it's like two main antagonists finally going against one another, and it's
Ip Man
orchestrated in a way.
and Tyson.
Yeah, this is just like him just taking out some goons, but just the way it's being done, again, the music throughout the whole scene, it's freaking awesome. And I don't know,
Mhm.
man, even when he finally shoots the guy that jumps off the bed, even that feels like real. It feels like, oh yeah, like, if I
Oh,
was
Yeah.
that
trying
was
to like,
great.
yeah.
Yeah, I caught it last minute, and the dude just slides through. I'm like,
Yeah.
holy crap.
I like that. Like, that feels real. Like, I would jump for that gun, and if he did get it first, he would shoot me, and that's what it would be. I would just land.
Just the way that you described it, of just him like kind of fighting randos, like it reminds me of like the Matrix. Like that was something the Matrix really did for you. That the Matrix was just a bunch of like fighting all these like agents that were nobody, and like it last if you like threw them across the freaking like skyscraper. Like it's just everybody was flying left and right. It was just like shooting everywhere. Like, but yeah, no, this movie does remind me about the Matrix a lot. Now that I remember, like it's just it is very Matrixy too.
I thought about
and
that
then the
too.
whole idea of the what if it's like reality or not. Like that's just oh my goodness. Yes. What is it about these movies though? Like I think are we just that obsessed with it? Because like you were talking about earlier how like perhaps you can't like I don't know. I'm one of those that I love to dream, and I feel like somehow I do dream really well. Not every night, obviously, but I do have recurring dreams, and in my recurring dreams, like things are always the same. Sometimes with small differences, and I can tell because of those differences. Not all the time, right? But then, of course, there's always like nights where like I do remember my dreams and maybe not the whole extent of it. Yeah. Especially like in this movie, I think they talk about, I don't know if it was that from the idea, but it's like you never remember the start or the beginning of your dream, but you always remember like the most action packed or where there's something crazy going on. And I don't know, I think it's just that fascination with like being in the idea of just your own world of a dream. So it makes this really good because that was the Matrix to me too. It's like, wait, what the fuck is reality anyways? Like,
Ramon, the only dreams I care about are the ones that wake me up with a tent.
Yeah, it just doesn't happen enough. No, but like I never dream. I'm one of those people that like
that's sad,
I either never or super rarely dream. Yeah. And then if I do dream, I pretty much almost always forget what my dream was like within like minutes of being awake.
That's scary, man. The thought of there being a device that guarantees that you could have a certain kind of dream, like, hey, this is the kind of dream I'm looking for tonight, and it doesn't have to be like 100%, but just the idea of it, and like,
imagine
1 out of the 7 days of the week I'm getting it, like it's worth it.
That's Total Recall again. Like it's the whole idea of like controlling your like dreams, and I don't know, but I mean, to be said, like it's funny because I've talked to a lot of people, and everybody is a little bit different on the dream range. Like, not that it's anything sad or anything wrong with your role, but like there is tricks of getting better at like remembering your dreams, and I recommend it looking into them.
I'm okay with that, remembering them.
Somebody that kind of like to steal ideas from another show that's not Rick and Morty, but Futurama had this idea of like when you dream, ads would be in your dream, so you would get ads for certain things like underwear and stuff, and it's just like, man, if it ever gets created, it's because of that, because corporate greed is going to be like, let's give them advertisements as they're dreaming. It's just that's how it works, man. Everything's based on money.
Well, a movie that I'm still hoping we will talk about soon is Dream Scenario with Nicolas Cage. 100% recommend for all you guys to watch it, and then I think we should talk about it because it feeds off of this movie pretty well. Not like in the same actiony, like freaking like complex like world, but it's just the whole idea of dreams and what they really mean to people. I don't know. It's just it's again another reason why this movie is so good is just that whole idea that everybody's so fascinated with dreams and what they actually mean.
I hit play on that movie, but I realized immediately that I wanted to be sitting down with all the lights off and just fully paying attention to it. So I decided to just kind of hold off a little bit because I didn't want to watch it.
Watch it.
Daytime. Yeah.
Watch
it.
I
gotta watch that.
Hey,
dude, it's a trap.
It's a trap. That's how Freddy Krueger begins, man. Start dreaming a little too much. No, but I mean, just to get back to the movie, and I know kind of we're heading towards the end, but like, I guess something else that we really hadn't talked about was just the whole Leonardo DiCaprio and like Cobb's character. And then obviously we did find out about the wife, right? That it was like he's the one that kind of not created the whole idea of Inception, but he kind of did it to his wife unknowingly. Accidentally. It was just crazy to freaking find out because that, an idea so strong that he made her believe that she wasn't living her real life there, that when she went out to her real life, she still thought that. And I thought it was like so insane that not only was she so obsessed with the idea that she still wasn't awake, is the fact that she kind of set up this plan so that he would be like found guilty for her murder. And then the fact that he wasn't going to be able to watch it because she was just trying to force him to also go with her. And it was insane. Like finding that out I think was just one of those things that I'm like, wow, no wonder you have this like prison and you're like in this limbo of like torture where you can't forgive yourself because you caused her to do that. And to me, again, for me, the movie still being about him, I think that was just one of the most significant points for me because I was just like, man, does this guy, like, I know it's not like his fault, he didn't do it on purpose, but does he even deserve to kind of live a life where he's like free and kind of
Yeah.
enjoying it? Because it sucks, man. Like, his wife didn't want him to.
Hey, Ramon, let me hit you with something. You're waiting for a train that will take you far away. You know where you hope this train will take you, but you don't know for sure. But it doesn't matter. How can it not matter to know where that train will take you? I don't know. It was something I was trying to
We'll be together.
I like where this was going, and let's go.
I was trying to memorize it honestly before but I was because you hear it so much throughout the movie that it's just like it does kind of resonate with you. But I'm like, man, it's crazy. Put that on my tombstone when I die, and people be like, wait, what? Did he love Inception that much?
But dude, the visual that they were even laying their heads on the train tracks to like waking themselves up, like, oh. I mean, I know they knew that. Huh?
Yeah, why would they do it that way? Like, there's so many more reasonable ways to do that, like jump off of a building.
It's instantaneous.
So then they can give us a train later on or earlier on in the movie, right?
Absolutely. That was the reason why.
Train going right through the streets of New York or wherever they were at. Like, that was
Christopher Nolan had an idea for a scene with a flamethrower, he would have definitely been like, oh yeah, we're gonna flamethrower each other at the end.
Well, I'm glad the movie didn't have more fires because I feel like that's another thing too. That it's like, well, even the idea of the kick alone was like crazy to me because everybody's gone through like a kick in real life, right? It's like those moments where you just kind of like either fall or you trip in your dream and you just fucking break up like all crazy, like sweating a little bit too. Like I don't know, it's just I can't imagine something like fire or something in there where you're just like slowly burning, but you're not dying right away. Like no.
You feel the pain too, like during the dream. Yeah.
Poor Saito.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's shot the whole time.
Keep that out.
Well, you'll soon find out that maybe the best way to pass away is by freezing to death when we talk about next week about True Detective. Because, it just be a nice, peaceful sleep.
He's already getting a cold, man. Don't mention the cold.
I know, just talking about freezing to death.
Ooh.
Yeah. No, but you're right, Roman. I mean, we're hitting the end. I don't really know what bigger things to talk about because I do obviously want to talk about a firm discussion about like, was he dreaming, was he not? Raul obviously thinks he did wake up. So that's good. That's good that one of us disagrees.
Yes. So who wants to go first, Raul?
Well, Raul, you tell us. You haven't said anything about it.
All right, so here's the thing. So with the ending, I kind of like that it's ambiguous because anyone can come up with whatever idea.
And that's how he meant it to be.
Yeah, because there's stuff to both sides. Like I totally agree. The kids are the exact same age as like everything else. So that's one thing. But it also it doesn't say how long it's been since he's been away either. It could have been months. So they would be the same age approximately, but you just don't know because they don't really bring it up. But it could have been years too. So that's one thing. The other thing is like as you're watching this totem spinning, you start seeing it wobble like it's going to fall down, but they cut off before that. So it makes you think, okay, he's not dreaming because it's about to fall down. But he stops looking at it too because he obviously got distracted. And you see their faces, which is the other thing. Like, oh, he can't be dreaming because he saw their faces. So it's something that kind of has both sides.
No, I mean, I think like Carlos said, I think definitely intended it to be ambiguous, but I don't know. That's kind of where like I like that it did that for people who want to kind of play and be like, yeah, cool, he's alive. Like that's just my resolution to the movie. They made it. He got out. He got back to see his family. Perfect, right? Happy ending. But it's like it has to be much darker than that because like first of all, look at where they ended it before that sequence of him being awake, right?
He was in limbo.
They never did anything. It was him and Saito, and then all of a sudden he was awake. Right? So there was nothing that showed you that they got that kick. There was nothing that kind of made you feel like, oh my God, like this is going to wake them up. And then the next thing you know, not only did him waking up and everybody just kind of glancing at each other, that didn't even bother me. Yeah, maybe a little under, like, not believing the fact that Saito would have, like you said, Carlos, called him and been like, "Hey, this dude's cool, like let him in." But it's the fact
and
that
then
he went
the
straight,
money goes into the Trump campaign.
right. But no, I think where to me it really starts getting, besides the fact that I love like my horrible endings. I love my, not horrible like in a bad way, but like I love my bad endings and they suck, right? Because they're like terrible to think about. But it's like when you saw like freaking Michael Caine, like that was to me it. He was just in France. Like when did he fly back all of a sudden, right? When did he fly back? The kids were wearing the same clothes that they were wearing in all his memories, right? And so to me, the whole fact that he saw the kids' faces, I think that was just him accepting his like death or his perpetual being lost to like this like limbo.
Yeah,
That's all that meant to me. That just meant that he finally gave up and he's like, you know what?
like, I
I
don't
give
care.
up. I want to see their face. But in reality, you know, I do love that he made the top like kind of like move a little weirder because it never did that the rest of the whole movie. So yeah, like I don't believe that he ended up like getting back to reality. It was just way too easy. But I mean, at the same time, I do like that it was ambiguous because at the end you could just be like, well, again, you don't have the answer. It's not. It's just it's fun to think about, man.
So are you saying that he didn't see their faces because he was kind of like self-punishing because of the guilt that he had for inceptioning his wife to killing herself?
Well, because he said that. Yeah.
Yeah, and then eventually he kind of got over it and he like accepted the fact that like, yeah, she's gone and I can let go, so now I can see my kids' faces again. As a reward because
it's weird, man, because I think if you had talked to me, you know, when the movie came out, I think I would have agreed with you, Ro, the fact that, hey, well, first of all, there's no definitive answer, but like I would have agreed with you, like he definitely woke up and everything's gonna be, you know, sun and rainbows and, you know, sunshine and yeah. But now that I saw it, it's just it's impossible. Again, it just feels like the cynic in me is just like, nah, man, like this dude at the end, no matter how much I want to believe. And I mean, he lived what I think more than like a normal person would live. Like he lived those however many years with his wife, and then he got to live again, possibly in limbo for who knows how long. Now that he's experiencing this new reality with his kids, and I mean, I assume that you will die in limbo eventually of old age, or is that just part of your imagination that you make yourself look older because you know time is passing? We don't even really understand how limbo works, right?
Well, no, and then think about the reality because when him and his wife were in limbo, they were just laying on the ground in their house, right? Like they were laying on the floor. And then they had like whatever days or whatever, however long they were there. But if you really think about it too, in this reality, he was on a plane. So essentially, someone would have tried waking him up. So that's kind of the only thing that kind of leads me to question, not like question like whether it was real or not. I still think that he was still dreaming and that he's still in his limbo. But I do think about that, like what then? Like, right? You have like Cobb that didn't wake up, and then Saito too that didn't wake up. So what would you do at that moment to be like, well, shit, we got to get off the plane. Cillian's gonna suspect something. Like we just did this whole thing. Like two dudes just didn't wake up. Like, you know, so like even that kind of makes it like a little weird to think about. But I think that's what's fun about it. But I think that Cobb deserves it. Like I think if you think about his struggle that he was dealing with his wife and everything else, like it was self-punishment all the way through. And I think for me, thinking that the ending that he never came back out of limbo, to me was just kind of a poetic justice where like he ended up in the same thing and perhaps, I don't know, like it's just that's where he belongs and to be in that limbo forever and ever.
Well,
but
do you die in limbo, or can you? Is that just part of your imagination that you're getting older, and in reality, you're not really getting older? You can continue to live to be 200, 1,000.
Yeah, you could probably live infinitely as long as your body in the real world survives, I'm guessing.
And that's what I was saying. Like, so then you got to think about it. What is going to happen when they land, right? Like,
yeah, okay. Damn.
I never thought about that. Yeah.
Or maybe the process of landing is enough to wake him up.
Man, I think what we need to do is we need to kidnap this man and do one of those like things where we make him write a script for Inception too. You know, like one of those. I think Stephen Hawking's like there's a movie out there, novel about that. You know, you're out there finishing your book and then not liking the ending and be like, you gotta redo it. Like
you gotta do it, man.
Let's kidnap Christopher Nolan and just have him come up with a part to the Inception.
Man, that's tough.
I wouldn't mind.
Yeah, I mean, it's you have to imagine it's like a guaranteed money maker of Inception too.
Oh
Like
yeah,
there are very few
Yeah.
movies that are guaranteed money. Like Beetlejuice 2, the trailer came out. People are saying it's gonna make a lot of money, but I guess there is no guarantee that it will. But
Yeah.
in my heart, I feel like it's gonna make money.
I mean, you have it both on the freaking Michael Keaton, Beetlejuice, like Winona Ryder. Now you got Jenna Ortega. Like
Ortega.
it's, but just the fact that it's Beetlejuice, man. I've been waiting for this movie for so long because it's like it's like we've had so many other little like options. I mean, you had the cartoon that I used to watch all the time as well,
Yeah.
and now I'm kind of like, yeah, of course. Wait, why didn't we have one sooner? It
If
was
he can
perfect.
make the movie more practical and less like CGI, because he's done a lot of weird shit, in his past movies. Like if you can kind of like step away from that, say like I'm going back to like my practical roots. Like I think it would be it's going to be a great movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Just like this movie is great.
Yeah, I like it. I
Robert?
approve.
Man, no, dude, I'm serious. Like, I mean, we rewatched. What was the last Christopher Nolan movie we did? Interstellar.
Yeah.
And Inception.
Oh, yeah.
Like, man, we gotta make it a thing to one of these every quarter because I don't know, man. Like, not that I had fallen in love with this movie. It's just this idea of like I hadn't seen this movie in a while. Now that I saw it again, it's like brings back all these memories, and it's just like I feel like there is a generation out there that's gonna discover this movie, and we might see it trending in like 5 years because now this new generation is like, have you guys seen this movie named Inception? It's freaking amazing, and I don't know. I think we clearly see people got inspired by it, but I just feel like it still has like a more generations to inspire.
Yeah, we should do Memento. I used to love Memento.
I love that one.
I've
Or what was
never
the-
seen
Or the Butterfly Effect. I know it's not Christopher Nolan, but that was another movie.
yes, I love
That was
that
another.
movie.
That was another movie that's just like a mind fuck. Which again, Dream Scenario. You got watch Dream Scenario because that's more relevant because it's just right out. But yeah, I think like Memento. Yeah.
Requiem for a Dream.
Oh,
Dude,
my
have you seen
goodness.
Requiem for a Dream, bro?
Oh yeah.
That's
I
like you
saw
brought it
that-
up.
I just recently saw that on a plane, and I didn't get to see the last
Recently?
20 minutes. Recently, like I just saw it on a plane recently, and I didn't get to finish it. And I felt so awkward watching it on a plane because there's some parts in that movie that's like, oh shit, like don't look at my
Connelly?
I'm like don't look at my little TV in my airplane because that movie's crazy. You know, it's the first time I can say I really love Jared Leto in a movie. You know,
Yeah.
besides Dallas Buyers Club that I also recently saw.
Yeah, that's a good movie too. Yeah, it's I don't know. I always love the whole thing with it where it's a dream or it could be a dream kind of thing because like in dreams like anything's possible. So as long as they do it well, it's a good kind of like scapegoat. But like
Wait,
whenever they do
is-
it badly, then it just sucks.
Is Requiem for a Dream at the end of the movie?
No.
Okay. Oh my god, I hate you. Now you're making like, why would you bring it up in this? Now I'm thinking, why would you bring it up in this category of movies we're talking about? Unless I thought it was because of the dream
No,
part.
because the mom, like
she's going through these like collapses of thinking she's mentally.
yeah, and the
lo-
game
losing
show
weight.
and,
Okay.
and all that stuff. And
I
and
swear,
her
he
kinda
wakes
going
up at the end of
crazy,
the movie and like, oh, I can't believe I just
Gonna
had
be
that
so
crazy dream.
It was all a dream. With Marlon Wayans wakes up.
Spoiler
Ah,
for like
that's
a
funny.
25-year-old movie.
Oh,
Dude,
man. What's that
that
good?
song too, though.
Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind is another good
Oh,
movie that also
yeah.
kind of dives into the whole mind and what's reality, what's not reality. Dude, all these movies, man. But I think it's so hard to talk about them sometimes. They're just like,
Well, That's why I'm happy that I have a lifetime to
Or-
talk to you guys
or-
about movies.
Robin Williams, when what dreams may come.
yeah, what dreams may come.
That one, because it came out when we were young, and
Mhm.
I've seen it, but haven't really seen it with like full adult or eyes that could understand what was happening. So I don't really have a good idea of that movie. Like it's just something that
The Devil's
if I watch-
Advocate.
The Fountain
Yeah.
with Hugh Jackman.
I will
haven't
not.
seen The
I will
Fountain.
not talk about I will be like checked out. I would like. I was
I know you hate
personally
that
saying, like,
movie.
can I just not be part of that? Because I think that movie, there's a lot to that movie. That's a
It was-
that's a movie
I haven't
that that's a movie that
You should watch
really,
your own.
Yeah, no,
It,
The
it,
Fountain.
the pacing is so weird that it just kind of makes the movie just hard. But like, it's a good. I liked it. I love all those movies that have to do with like love and conflict of the mind and stuff like that. And it's just, oh man,
Maybe if I watched The Fountain today, I would understand it more than when I watched it.
tap into your Christopher Nolan Inception world and be like, yup, can read this.
This is what it was
Yeah.
thinking.
Yeah.
All right, well, we did it. Somebody spin your totem so to make sure that this really did happen and we're not dreaming. All right, and we'll reveal the answer next week when we talk about True Detective season 5. All right, bye guys.
All right, guys. Peace.